Without even bothering to declare war on the 10th of May 1940, the German armies launched a coordinated attack across the neutral borders of Luxembourg, Belgium and Holland from the Maginot Line north to the sea. The action along the entire front was simultaneous. So, for the purposes of clarity, we take up one country at a time. First, this is what happened in Holland. Nazi ground forces smashed through the improvised and hastily erected border defenses. But the main attack was to come from the air, far behind defense lines. Over 10,000 troops were landed in this manner, before the stunned citizens of Rotterdam even knew they were at war. These troops, aided by well-trained 5th columnists, quickly captured the airport and outlying sections of the city. Meantime, Nazi armored columns were racing across their country, their progress speeded by other 5th columnists who prevented the destruction of vital dikes and bridges. These forces effected a meeting with the parachutists landed in Rotterdam. The Dutch were doomed to defeat. On the 4th day of the invasion, the Nazis gave the Dutch general an ultimatum. All Dutch resistance must cease, or Rotterdam will be bombed flat. The Dutch general had little choice. To save the lives of innocent civilians, he accepted the German terms. But after the unconditional surrender, the Nazis bombed the city anyway. Flights of unopposed German bombers flew low over the center of Rotterdam and methodically bombed it into a heap of rubble. This was one of the most ruthless exhibitions of savagery the world had ever seen. Over 30,000 men, women, and children were killed in the space of 90 minutes. Though only 6 months before, Hitler had said, "The new Reich has endeavored to continue the traditional friendship with Holland." Meantime, in Belgium, the whole force of Nazi blitzkrieg had stormed across its neutral borders. The main German attack was directed at the Eben-Canal-Meuse river line, the anchor of which was Fort Eben-Emiel, a seemingly impregnable fortress. The Germans had secretly built a replica of the mighty fortress in Czechoslovakia and had rehearsed the attack until they knew every detail of the fort's construction and its every weakness. When the real attack came, it was foolproof. Specially trained engineer battalions, all working together as a well-trained team. They knew exactly where to cross the river. You will notice that this assault engineer knows exactly where to put his high explosive charge in order to destroy the blockhouse. Fort Eben-Emiel withstood the Nazi attack exactly 2 days, and the Germans rolled on. Meantime, an hour and a half after the German invasion began, Allied troops crossed the French and Belgian border to meet the advancing Germans. As they raced across Belgium to take up their defense positions, they met an obstacle they hadn't counted on: refugees. The Nazis methodically bombed little towns and villages, otherwise devoid of any military value. Not so much to kill as to drive the inhabitants out into the highways, hopelessly entangling advancing Allied armies. Refugees used as a weapon of war, a new low in inhumanity. No school today, the sign says. The children are otherwise occupied. Although only 6 months before Hitler had announced, "The Reich has put forth no claim which might in any way be regarded as a threat to Belgium." The Belgians will not forget. But the attack on Belgium and Holland was only a feint. The main German attack was to be centered where the Allies least expected it, through the Ardennes forest. For this decisive blow, they had secretly assembled the mightiest striking force the world had ever seen, including 45,000 armored vehicles. At the same time that the Nazi armies were plunging into Holland and Belgium, this column started to move. Well-trained engineer battalions went first. They were opposed only by scattered Allied patrols. They cleared pathways for the tanks to follow. In 3 days, the Germans' armored force reached the Meuse River, 2 days faster than the French thought any troops could get through. By all rules, the Germans should have paused here to bring up heavy artillery before attempting to cross the river. But the Nazis had a new type of artillery, dive bombers. With them, they blasted the French positions across the Meuse. With feverish haste, the Germans laid a barrage across the river with anything and everything that would shoot. This tremendous concentration of firepower continued all through the night. By the following day, shock troops were able to get across the river. These shock troops held the bridgehead until the engineers brought up pontoons and built bridges. Then, without wasting a moment, across these bridges the main armored force of the German military machine rolled through the Sudan for the all-important breakthrough into the dismayed and flat-footed France. For the Allies, the writing was on the wall. Defeat was inevitable. It was now only a matter of how long they could hold out.
In the hideous dilemma which now presented